Imagine two folks with the same experience level, same skill set, or rather similar skill sets. 10 years, Java, and one has 20 lakhs as annual compensation right now. The other individual has 28 lakhs as annual compensation right now. Why? Why do you think so? Hello everybody. You tell me in the comments your experience of working with an American client. Just write American client, great working experience. Similarly, if you have experience working with a European client, just say great experience UK client and great experience Australian client. That's it. 2 or 3 sentences, 1 sentence per client. And in this video, I want to share with you what are some of the aspirational things with respect to the client industry itself. And what are some of the aspirational things that you should be targeting in the services world and in the larger IT industry as well. The first and the most important thing that I want to highlight is geography. The client geography makes a lot of difference. And let me tell you why. If you are working with an American client, there is no escape for you from the late night calls, right? Because the client is logging in at 9 a.m. his or her time, and it's already 9:30 p.m., 10 p.m. your time, so you need to share that update. But there is one geography which is fantastic, and you can get your nightlife back, like no questions asked. And that is if you have an Australian client. Because according to the Australian time zones, if you work from India timings morning 8 till afternoon 12, that's it, because you have a good 4-5 hour overlap. In some scenarios, you might be working from morning 6 a.m. itself, but still you will close your work by 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. and you are done for the day. You get your entire evening life back. That's a great aspiration to have. So in case if you get a chance to work with an Australian client, never say no. This is one of the first reasons that I would say having an Australian client is a huge advantage. The second advantage that you can also derive from working with an Australian client is typically Australians are regarded as easygoing and friendly people. If you get into a client call, the client will ask you, how are you doing? If you say that, hey, I have to take care of my baby, I have to take care of some personal stuff, the client will say, I'm not saying like your manager, but the client will say, hey, why don't you go take care of the stuff that you need to and then come back tomorrow. This might sound like music to some of the folks, but yes, this does happen. I might be generalizing a lot, but Australians are typically known for their good behavior, even in the workspace, because they value their personal life so much, they believe everybody would be doing the same. So do not underestimate the importance of working with the Australian clients. The third thing is also that a lot of us have trouble communicating beyond what is required. We communicate just our work and we believe that, hey, the entire talk is actually done by our technical work. And that works when the other side of the party is technical in nature and also a little bit more advanced in terms of the technology knowledge itself. And that again happens in the Australian context because there is no rush to becoming a people manager. So people tend to stick a long time with the technologies and they do get that exposure. So if you make a valid point, they understand. You don't need to beat around the bush. But in other geographies, you need to make a lot of small talk. You need to make a lot of commentary about your own work itself. So it's not just about the work speaking, but it is also about you speaking a lot about your work. Now, again, go back and talk to your friends within your same company or different companies who work with the Australian clients and see if your experience itself is very different if you are working with an American or a UK based client. That's number one. The second aspirational thing that we all have in our careers is, of course, having a high salary. Let me paint you a realistic scenario of what's happening with respect to the salary growths right now. In 2019-2020 COVID period, there was a lot of requirement for technology folks. Now we all know that. So they were ready to hire people even with a 100% salary hike. Do remember these numbers, right? With a 100% salary hike. 2022-2023, the demand started to go down, and for experienced folks, if you are looking to transition into a new job, the hikes came down from 100% to roughly 40%. And now in 2024, if you want to shift in the market, the hikes are around 20%. So as you spend more and more time in the industry, what is happening to your hikes is a big question mark. So how do you negate it? How do you move forward with a good salary hike? There are two ways to attack it, but let me deep dive into the first way, that is understanding how the entire salary structures work itself. In the product world, if you are going and working for a product company, these companies typically have a budget for a particular role. If you are applying for a developer role, let's say grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, this particular grade has a salary band. And if you are already earning 45 lakhs and if the band is 50 lakhs, they can't offer you more than 50 lakhs. That's it. They say this is the band and are you comfortable? This conversation happens even before the interview. So you might say, no, I don't want to pick up that offer because it's only 10% hike. But I would request, why don't you continue with the interview process? Because if you show that, hey, you are really capable from a technical standpoint, these guys would compensate. Instead of giving you that actual salary hike, they would add in stocks from their end. So it's not just about that final number that you need to be worried about when you are looking for these product companies. Imagine somebody negotiating on this particular band and dropping off with respect to an offer from Nvidia 3 or 4 years back. Their stock has increased by close to 1700 or 1800%. So see if the stocks are also a part of your overall compensation. The second way to understand the same set of salary numbers for the IT services companies is, if you are earning 45 lakhs, they might say that, hey, if we really need that candidate, then we'll be ready to pay them even 80 lakhs. So if you are already getting 45, they'll double your salary. If you are getting 20, they'll say, hey, we'll give you 40. But the interesting point over here to remember is, these guys might have a budget of more than what they are offering you. You might say that, hey, I already am happy with the percentage hike, so I'll continue with that. But they have much bigger band that they can offer you because of the current requirement and demand. So you need to understand how much you can stretch that ball by. One other good way is if you can have another offer in hand and see how much you can push. With product companies, it is very difficult to push, but with services companies, you can push. Do remember that point and don't unnecessarily go down on your number. If you look at the overall market, if you say that, hey, with my experience, if somebody else is getting 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs, but I only get 20 lakhs, if you are going and talking with that HR from the services company, do demand that 30 lakhs or whatever you want, because they will have that salary in their hand, but they will not give you and say that, hey, for 20 lakh salary, we can only increase it by 25 or 30%. Please remember that. Now, the other way, like not even get into any of these conversations, but continue to have that growth trajectory from a salary standpoint, is making sure that you are working in growing technologies. I would say divide all these technologies into 3 buckets, right? The first one is the technologies which are slowly dying. The second bucket is the technologies which are long-termish, which are safe to an extent, but not necessarily growing, but there is already a lot of supply in that space. And the third one is the technologies which are growing. Now, your objective should be, wherever you are across the 3, you need to identify at least one in the growing space. It could be cybersecurity, it could be cloud, it could be AI. One of the things is something which you need to be. And it is better if you actually have 2 technologies in your back pocket. Now, why am I saying this? Let me give you a simple example. I myself was developing a WordPress website in 2018-2019, and the entire layout, the modules, how to develop a website, the content management system, WordPress is a CMS, and how the CMS was structured and how a developer could develop a website using WordPress has completely changed in the last 6 years. Previously, you had to code, or you had at least modules which you had to go and manually work with. But now, it's all moving to touch. It's all just drag and drop. So if you have 6 years of experience or even 10 years experience in WordPress, somebody just working on the touch features is enough for the new client or for the new company. You say that, hey, I have 10 years work experience, so I can do better stuff. Nobody would believe that, because the technology has evolved, so the world has also moved on. So your prior experience is not relevant anymore, and that might happen once again in the next few years. So for your technology to be relevant, you need to be staying up to date. You need to continuously upskill. There is no other way for that. Add on top of that, if you have a secondary technology as well up your sleeve, then that combinations are always powerful. It is easier to find individuals who know one technology very well, but it is extremely difficult to find people who have knowledge in two areas. And if you are one, companies would be willing to pay you a lot more. And as you grow in your career, as you grow in your life as well, you have a lot more responsibilities, you have a lot of other commitments apart from work. So when you have time, this is the moment for you to get started on that second technology. Do let me know if you want me to speak more about the upcoming domains, upcoming technologies, and why and what type of job opportunities, salaries are associated with them. I will make a separate video on that. But I hope you understand what are the aspirational things that you should be looking forward. One is geography. Do not ignore that because that can get your life back. Number two, high salaries and how to negotiate from a product or from a services company standpoint. And number three is how you have to upskill yourself irrespective of where you are right now. Hope this video is helpful. I'll see you again in the next one. Thank you guys. Bye bye.